What is up, Lions Nation? We're back. Took a little break, but we're back and ready for the offseason. Offseason's in full swing already, Statman. Season's over, obviously. Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl again, and now here we are, ready to go.
Yep, Taylor Swift got the Super Bowl win that she's always wanted.
Very true. Taylor Swift. I thought there was a rumor going around that Kelsey was going to propose on the podium. And then towards the end of the celebration, you could see him go towards her. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. They kissed, but he didn't propose. That would have just blew it over the edge. And then you probably heard that afterwards or during, there was a shooting at the parade, which is horrible. People, man. People.
There's also reports that they were gang members and illegal immigrants.
I heard there was kids involved.
Well, I'm talking about the shooters themselves.
Oh, yeah. The shooters were gang members, I think, and then I think like one lady was shot and killed, and then like 9 kids got shot or something. I'm not sure, but
it's sad whenever anybody gets shot, and my thoughts go out to all the families involved, and I wish them the best, and hopefully nothing like that happens again. But you can't stop humanity from being humanity.
Yep. Unfortunately, this is something that happens too much in our world. So we are at 243 subscribers on that march to 500. We actually are sitting here right now with Goose Egg in here. Nobody's in here yet.
They're not used to us being on in the off season.
That's what it is too. That's what it is. Well, we got a little bit of news topics, Statman, and then we'll go over our grades for the coaching. And I also have the nation's grades that I'll post up so everybody can see how they all voted.
I am interested to see what everybody thought.
Me too, compared to ours. I think you and I were pretty much equal on all of them, except for I think Dan Campbell.
You had him at an A. I had him at an A minus. I
was only doing A, B, C, or D. So then I changed it because you did an A minus. So I think on other ones I would list like a C plus, I think, or something. So the news earlier this week, the Detroit Lions signed a Canadian Football League's most outstanding defensive player of 2023, Matthew Betts. So that was a recent signing on Friday. 5 days after the Super Bowl, the contracts of 7 different Detroit Lions players were automatically voided. The following players' contracts will void on Friday. QB Teddy Bridgewater, which he retired. Guard Graham Glasgow, guard Vitae, edge Charles Harris, Romeo Quara, Emmanuel Mosley, CJ Gardner-Johnson. But to be clear, just because these players' contracts will be void does not mean they are now free to sign anywhere. They will become unrestricted free agents at the start of the new league year, March 13th. So, that being said, Statman, I want to know first your thoughts on the signing. I read a little bit about him. I don't know a whole lot about him. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to Canadian Football League, to be honest. But any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't pay attention to Canadian Football League unless you're in Canada. My brother Dane was also saying, I didn't even know they had a Canadian Football League. I said, yeah, it's been around for a while. But it looks like, I mean, I don't know as far as like the differences between Canadian Football League and the NFL. Obviously, Canadian Football League is a step lower than the NFL. Bet seems like a great talent that we got from the Canadian Football League. There's been other players that have come from the CFL, done great in the NFL. So, I mean, only time will tell, but apparently he had 18 sacks last year alone on that team. That's a lot of production there. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
he
mean,
can transfer it.
I think that going back to what you just said, I think the NFL looks at everything. They look at the Canadian Football League, they look at the USFL for players. Like that's like second chance opportunities for players that don't make it in the NFL right away. A lot of players go to the Canadian Football League or now the USFL, the Spring League. I think it's USFL, right? When they combined them, is that what they went with?
I don't
Something like that.
remember.
It's something like that. The XFL and the other one combined it and made one. But they have been recently over the past few years taking players from them and bringing them into the NFL, give them another shot. So, for the Lions to go out there, see a player that can contribute like that, I don't know. I'm not saying the player caliber in the Canadian Football League is less, but it sounds like to me that he's going to be a pretty talented addition for us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, only time will tell. He's a great talent, it looks like, in the CFL. We'll see if it transfers over to the NFL.
Oh, that too. And who knows? They sign him now, but there's no guarantee that come next season he's going to be there. That's happened. What about these guys, the contract voids for these guys? Is there any names standing out there that you think won't be back? Like, what about CJ Gardner-Johnson? Do you feel like he'll be back next season?
I don't think he'll be back. I don't think Emmanuel Mosley will be back. I don't think Vaitai will be back. Obviously, Bridgewater's not going to be back. I see Graham Glasgow coming back to Detroit. I know the organization told him that they wanted him back. And I don't know. I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see what Brad Holmes has up his sleeve and what he has planned for this team. But I trust in everything that he does. He's obviously brought us to where we're at. Another guy I don't see returning is Charles Harris. I think he's been kind of underwhelming at defensive end. He hasn't been really producing. And I think we got better talent out there somewhere in either free agents or college rookies coming in. So,
yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Angel says, hello, Lions fans.
hello, baby.
We're going to get into that, obviously, in a little bit later shows, but I think that Brad Holmes is going to make some huge moves again this offseason. I'm expecting some big things coming from him. When it comes to free agency, I'm expecting some big moves. When it comes to the draft, I think there's going to be a couple of surprises that people aren't going to think that we're going to be looking at. When it comes to that, in regards to CJ Gardner-Johnson in particular, he didn't really, he was injured, but when he came back, he didn't do a whole lot. Talk
Right.
trash. So how big of a loss really is it?
Not big. One guy I want to bring up too, a lot of people are doing the mock drafts.
Mm-hmm.
They have us taking Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. How awesome would it be to have Kool-Aid McKinstry on the Lions? That's the Lions saying is drinking the Kool-Aid.
Are you saying that just because his name is Kool-Aid?
Yeah. I mean, he's an awesome player too. I mean, if you watch film on the guy, he's really good. Corner.
Position. Okay, so I know we're going to have a draft show and all that, but that's where I think the Lions are probably going to go for their first round pick. That was my take on it. Since
I don't know,
I even do that,
they might trade up and draft a receiver. Never know.
And we can kind of get into that too when we do our player grades for the actual positions, which we have tonight. We're doing the coaches, so it's going to be interesting to hear your take on them. And we're going to start out with defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. The nation has spoken, and Aaron Glenn, 55% say B, 44% say C. Our grades, I gave Aaron Glenn a C. Statman, you went with a C+. All right, so let's break it down. What do you think of the nation's take?
I think B is a little high. He struggled throughout most of the year, putting different game plans in, especially after halftime. We kind of fell apart after halftime a lot of times just because of not adjusting to the game as it's going on, making your proper adjustments, bringing in different blitzes. I mean, he didn't start doing that until toward the end of the year. And I think he definitely ramped it up in the playoffs. Our defense played outstanding in the playoffs for the most part, other than particular people, Cam Sutton. So, I mean,
I believe he's staying, by the way. I believe.
Oh boy.
I agree with you. I think that some of the defense obviously was the player, some of them, but in order to be successful with your thought, you have to change things up, and that's where my grade came in. Did he do well with what he had in some aspects? Yes. Should he have moved Aiden Hutchinson around more when he's seen how effective that is? Absolutely. Should he have tried to do something different besides Cam Sutton? Yes. Like, make some kind of adjustment. Even in the game, make an in-game adjustment, halftime adjustment, something. If you got a guy like Cam Sutton, I'm not trying to name drop Cam Sutton, but you got a guy like Cam Sutton out there just letting people get catches over 5-yard buffers all the time. Should you not go in and make some kind of adjustment for that? And it didn't seem like he ever did. It didn't seem like he ever tried.
Yeah, I don't know. Cam Sutton's better at playing two receivers, not one. He can't cover the best receiver on the team, I can tell you that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Aaron Glenn never adjusted to that. He never tried to switch it up. But what choice did he have? Cam Sutton or Vildor?
But what I didn't understand either is why they didn't bring up Stephen Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore's little brother.
If you have a guy like that waiting in the wings, and Cam Sutton and Vildor are playing like they are, why not put somebody else in there and give them a shot? It could have been the turning point that they needed in that position.
Yeah. And you let a young player develop too.
Then you have a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, who was being very successful when he was being moved around. But that, to me, this whole season was not done enough. Because when it was done, he was being very, very, or when he started back, when they had him start back off the, kind of wide out, and he kind of got a running start. But he didn't do that often either. It's like, why not put him in the positions where he can be successful? I don't feel like Aaron Glenn did that very well. That's why he gets the grade he got from me.
I was honestly disappointed that Aaron Glenn didn't find a head coaching job elsewhere.
And that was going to bring that was kind of what I was going to roll into this. But yeah, so you think that Aaron Glenn should have went?
Yeah, I wish he would have found another job.
I'm hopeful that maybe they can build on something, get a few better players in certain positions this offseason. Maybe that'll help. I don't think Aaron Glenn is that horrible, but I think he needs help in some spots, but he also has to be able to make those adjustments, regardless of what you have out there. You got to be able to make the adjustments and for what you're lacking. And I don't think he did that very well.
Yep.
The Nation has given our offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, who is thankfully staying here in Detroit. 30% said A, 30% said B, 20% C, 10% said D, and one person, Jim Pash, said A+. I seen that one. Let's bring up our grades. I gave Ben Johnson a B+. Statman, you gave him a B+ as well. Why a B+?
I think he did really well with his coaching scheme. But same thing, same knock as Aaron Glenn, halftime adjustments. How many third quarters did we watch where we didn't score a single point? I can't give him an A+ or an A when he leaves stuff out on the field like that.
I mean, there's a perfect example. Beyond most of a lot of the games we've seen that third quarter slump. But our NFC Championship game that we played, we had that third quarter slump. It was like a whole different team came out again. And that's on all three of them, but still, like they both need to work on being able to adjust for the game. But I love Ben Johnson, though. I'm glad he's staying here. I'm kind of hoping he stays another year after, to be honest.
And Ben Johnson's a young coach. I mean, this is only his first full year as an offensive coordinator. So I think he did a terrific job for not having the experience. But he can only get better.
Mm-hmm. What I don't want to see happen is him get better. Either next season or the season after, and then he leaves, and then we have to start over again. That worries me. I could see if you have a coach, maybe like Aaron Glenn, who's struggled a lot, getting a new defensive coordinator, someone that was better. But I think Ben Johnson is already there. He just has to work on a few things, and that's where that C comes into play for me, that C+. Or what did I say?
B+.
B+. That's why I say B+. He's not at an A level yet for me, but he's almost there. I love this play calling style. He did stick with the run game pretty well in the beginning of the games, but he would throw these crazy plays out there. And that's one thing I loved how he worked Montgomery and Gibbs into the game at certain times, like pound the shit out of them with Montgomery at first, and then here comes fucking Gibbs. Good try, good fucking thing trying to stop him after Montgomery's been running over you the whole game. Like that was perfectly planned out. I think the way he used those two, especially.
We got another couple years of that.
But it's just the way that he used the players and the talent that we had makes him a B+ in my book. Look at how he opened up the door for Sam Laporta. Now, Sam Laporta is an outstanding player, but a lot of that is Ben Johnson and his play calling and his play style to make those plays specifically for him. And look how successful he was.
Well, and Ben Johnson,
Jared Goff.
Yeah, Goff turning his career around.
Yep.
But Ben Johnson said about Laporta, because they were asked about Laporta if there's anything that he can't do. And he says he keeps trying, but he can't find one single thing the guy can't do.
It's true. And when the players connect with a coach, that makes a huge difference in my eyes. That's why Dan Campbell is an amazing head coach in my eyes. But that's why I think Jared Goff was so successful under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson took Jared Goff. He knew the talent Jared Goff had, and he put that to his advantage and put the game play calling and play style around that, the scheme around him, and made it work.
Wait, I got a question for you. What do you think Dan Campbell would have done if one of his players came up and grabbed him, pushed him, and yelled in his face like Kelsey did to Andy Reid.
First off, Andy Reid just blew that off like it was nothing. But there is some audio out there. I didn't hear it, but I heard that it's pretty bad. And I want to make, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a BS. And Kelsey even said it on his podcast. That was his brother said to Travis, that was some BS crap that you did, in that game. But when I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, and I don't think that anybody would do that to Dan Campbell.
I think Dan Campbell would stone cold stunner him right there on the field.
You imagine being a player walking up to Dan Campbell and trying to push him? No.
I wouldn't try it.
But does that tell you, they can blow it off all they want. Maybe he was just upset or whatever. But he literally, I didn't catch it the first time I seen it, but the second time I seen it, he does push him, and Andy Reid almost fell. Like, could you imagine if he would just pushed his head coach down because he was pissed? I would have taken him out of the game right then. Super Bowl or not, fuck you. But to answer your question, Dan Campbell would have never tolerated that for 1 second.
Yeah, Andy Reid said something about players get heated up all the time during the game, and he was just hot in the moment, and everybody's emotions were getting a hold of them. Like, bullshit. You just don't do that. It's disrespectful.
No, I could see. I've seen it many times where a player gets in a coach's face and they get back and forth. Look at Tom Brady over the years with Bill Belichick. Those two, all the time. But they never put hands on him. Tom Brady never fucking put his hands on Belichick and pushed him over. Like, come on, dude. Come on. I didn't like that at all when I seen that. But to answer your question, I don't think any of them. I think our players, the Lions players, had way too much respect for Dan Campbell to even think about putting their hands on him. I don't see any of them doing it ever, to be honest. I mean, you could be mad and walk off the sideline, throw your fucking helmet down. Fine. But why do you got to go up to your coach and put your hands on him? You're the one that's out there playing. But get your shit together, Kelsey. That's what I got to say.
Yep.
Last but not least, Statman. Well, so your thought on the nation. I want to know specifically your thoughts on the CD. Where do you think that's coming from?
I have no idea. Whoever they were, jackasses. They obviously don't know football and don't know how to watch football and watch how the game's portrayed. And
I can actually tell you.
Who was it?
Maybe. Oh, maybe I can't. God dang it. I'm trying to see if I can.
Whoever put the D on there, I'd like to know who that is.
The D went to Maniac Tim.
Wow.
And the C was JB and Kent Swanson.
Yeah. Well, you know what I want to say about that. So
I don't
refrain.
Yeah, I don't agree with this. That's this is an opinion-based thing. That's why I put it out there so we could get people involved, get their opinions. I would love to know. I would love to know the reason for that. To be honest,
I hate to hate on people's opinions, but I disagree with your opinions greatly.
Oh, I don't agree with them either, but I would like to know why. Why? How can you look at what Ben Johnson did for this team this season and give him a D?
One of the best offensive stat seasons the Lions have ever had.
Ben Johnson is an amazing offensive coordinator. I don't see where a C or a D comes into play.
Me either.
I wish Tim was on here right now because I'd ask him straight to his face. Tim, you're a great guy, but I totally disagree with you on that. And I'd like to know where that comes from because it doesn't make sense.
They wouldn't have made it to the NFC Championship off of a D-rated offensive coordinator or a
Or a
C-rated
C.
offensive coordinator.
Or a C. I agree with a lot of our nation, A 30%, B 30%. That means they were right there with the top. They just couldn't decide if it was, they're probably on the fence. Like I'm right there, either B or A, like right there. And that's probably what a lot of them are at because they know the value that Ben Johnson brings, but to put him down that low, don't like it.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Last but not least, we have the one and only Dan Campbell. 85% say A, 14% say B, and 1% said a C.
I'd like to know who that 1% was.
Our grades. I gave Dan Campbell an A, and Logan, you went with an A minus. So let's talk about Dan Campbell.
I give him the same chips as I gave Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Halftime adjustments. I mean, and then the other thing is just ballsy play calling sometimes. Sometimes it's necessary. I know how Dan Campbell is. He's Riverboat Dan for a reason. He's always taking the gamble. He's going off the numbers. Percentages say go for it. There's certain situations that you probably shouldn't go for it and try to get 3 points.
I knew that was coming. I agree with what you're saying, but I find it hard because I love it. I love Dan Campbell and the way he is with this football team. I love that he's like, fuck it, go for it.
I love it too, but there's just certain situations you probably should try to take the 3 points.
If you're gonna, I feel like if you're gonna go for it, like let's say it's 4th and 3, do a play you're gonna be successful with, like maybe run the ball. I think that's where they faulted a lot of times. They would pick a dumb play on 4th down instead of running something they know they have a better chance of getting the 4th down with or being more successful. But I love this team the way that they are. I love their just fucking go get 'em attitude. And I hope that Dan Campbell doesn't change. I hope he stays the same. That C grade.
Who was the guy that voted as C?
I'm trying to see if I can see it right now. I could see the other one. I could see who voted, but this one so far I haven't been able to. That one I can't see it. Yeah, see, like Ben Johnson says 10 votes underneath it, so I can see. And then the other two don't say who voted where. Dang it. Yeah, we're not going to be able to see who exactly did it on that one.
I have a feeling it was, who?
Tim or JB?
JB.
I'm just going to say it. I don't care. We all have our own opinions. We're all able to say what we want to say. That's why I wish it would be nice to hear a thought behind that. Like if you're gonna give Ben Johnson a D or you're gonna give Dan Campbell a C, put it in the comments why you gave him that. So then we know where your thoughts are. Maybe we can agree on a little bit of it. I don't know, but I don't know. It sucks when it's anonymous because then I can't
come on our show.
Yeah.
And discuss it. If we don't like your opinion, we'll just boot you out.
Mikey B's in the house, says hello. Go for it, Dano.
How's it going, Mike?
The funniest thing I seen lately, I don't know if I sent that to you or not, but when Dan Campbell's on The Price is Right and he's at the wheels at 95 and he says, Drew, I think I'm going to spin. I laughed for like 20 minutes straight when I seen that. I couldn't stop laughing.
That's just his mentality, though.
It's true. That's the thing, though. If Dan Campbell changes, then he changes who he is. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it, but it's just like I said, certain situations kick a field goal.
I get that. I definitely understand that. How do you give a team that made it to the championship game a C? Thank you, Mike.
I know. I'd like to know the same thing.
I didn't put that in here, but that's a good. I should have did that too as a whole. What grade do you give as a whole the Lions team this year?
B.
I like that. I'll go with that. B's good. I should have put that one in, had people vote on that. Well, I mean, Statman, that's it. That's our coaching grading. I'm glad. I'm hopeful that next season Aaron Glenn can make some adjustments, especially on that defensive side, maybe boost his grade up a little bit for next year. I do agree with you as far as Dan Campbell goes. Maybe not go for as much, but don't change who he is. And Ben Johnson, just a little bit of adjustments is all you need, buddy. And you'll have that A from the Soul Man.
Same.
I'll talk to Daddy.
Mike keeps messaging in. Let's see what he. But then who is he? Could be a super moving coach. I don't understand what that means. Super Bowl. I think he meant Super Bowl winning coach. I think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Lions talk with bad guy comes in. I said, I really hope the Lions upgrade at defense. What's up, Lions talk? Thanks for hopping in. Yeah, I think that'll make all the difference. I think Aaron Glenn is plenty capable if he gets a little bit more help. And they can't do it all in 1 year. We have to remember that. They couldn't do it all last offseason. They have another offseason right now to make more adjustments, get better players, get better talent on the defensive side. There we go. See what they can do.
Defensive back is the first upgrade, I would say.
Yep. Agree. 100%. So, Statman, I think next week, same time, I think we will focus on quarterback, running back. Sound good to you?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Hey, everybody, thanks for popping in. It is that time. Are you going to sing?
That's
Okay.
only for pre-games.
I don't like to end the show without knowing if you're going to do it or not.
Who knows? Here or there, I might choose to do it.
But hey, thanks everybody for hopping in and checking us out. Remember, we'll be back next Friday at 7. Well, no, we won't. Not next week. Absolutely not. Soul Man has company next weekend. Soul Man's doing nothing next weekend. Nothing.
All right, I see you.
Got to. But after that, we'll maybe during the week we'll come on before the weekend.
Sounds good to me.
Sound good? All right. See you next time for our quarterback running backs grades. One pride, everybody.
One pride.